My 10-year-old niece let out a little laugh and said, "Mom says if you disappeared tomorrow, nobody would even care," as she unwrapped the brand new $1,100 phone I'd bought her. Everyone in the room, about 30 people, burst into laughter. Everyone but me. I didn't crack a smile. I just nodded slowly and reached for my phone. 2 taps, that's all it took. I shut down every payment, every subscription, every bill, every credit account I'd been covering for them. Done. That same night, I packed my things and left. No announcement, no explanation. I just cut all ties and walked away. All I left behind was one black backpack. Inside it, something waited for them. A message. A reminder. But before that, I was still sitting there, stunned, among the laughing people, trying to make sense of the words I had just heard. My niece's voice echoed in my head, "Mom says if you disappeared tomorrow, no one would even notice." She laughed again as she peeled the plastic off her phone, delicate fingers working the wrapping like it was a present from Santa. You'd never guess that the words she said could cut like a blade. The living room buzzed with conversation, loud, messy, chaotic, like it always was during family gatherings. 30 people crammed into one space, talking over each other, not noticing a thing. In the kitchen, a birthday cake sat untouched, candles still waiting for fire. But I was already burning inside. My chest tight, my breath short. Erica, my sister, was on the couch, eyes glued to her phone, scrolling like she hadn't just heard her daughter spit venom in my direction. She gave a little smirk, barely there, but clear as day to me. Like she'd just won some secret contest. Mom stood at the stove, stirring something in a pot. She didn't turn around or say anything. But I noticed how her shoulders twitched ever so slightly, just enough to show that she'd heard it and approved. She always did. And Dad? He didn't even pretend to hide how he felt. He chuckled, raised his beer like a toast, and said under his breath, "Well, she's not wrong." The laughter spread like wildfire. My cousins grinned. Even Uncle Ron, who probably couldn't pick me out of a lineup, snorted beer out of his nose. And me? I just stood there, feeling like a damn idiot. Like I always had. The one who paid for everything. Fixed every mess. Carried the weight so no one else had to. The guy who was never quite enough. "Thanks for the phone, Uncle," my niece said with a chirp, already snuggled up against Erica, her attention locked on the glowing screen like I didn't exist anymore. I watched her for a second, heart pounding so loud it drowned out the room. My face felt hot. Everything around me seemed to close in, like the walls were shrinking. But I didn't say a single word. I just did what I always did. Nodded. Smiled. Played the part. Pretended everything was fine. Erica finally looked up and caught my eye. And in that glance, I saw it, something smug, satisfied. Like she'd been waiting for me to break. For me to just take it, silent and humiliated. "All right, everyone, let's cut the cake." Mom called out in her best sing-song party voice, like nothing awkward had just happened. The mood shifted back to normal for them. But not for me. I walked into the kitchen and leaned against the counter, trying to stay grounded while they sang and cheered. Candles flickered. A wish was made. I didn't move. My hands curled into fists without me even realizing. My jaw locked tight. But deep down, something colder than hurt was starting to stir. Something final. I reached into my pocket. Felt my phone. 2 taps. And every account I had opened in their names, every monthly bill I'd been covering, every credit card payment, they were all gone. Closed. Cut off. I didn't second guess it. My hands just moved. Like I'd already made the choice long ago and tonight was just the moment I followed through. It was over. Their voices became noise in the background, distant, hollow. The faces around me blurred. They were strangers now. All of them. They were still laughing, still celebrating. But I wasn't part of it anymore. Not really. I'd become nothing more than a walking bank account to them. But that was done. I was done. I slipped out of the house without saying a word. Nobody even noticed. And my niece? Well, she was right about one thing. I didn't go back home. Instead, I headed straight to my apartment, packed a small bag with only the basics, then stopped and turned around. There was one last thing I needed to do. In the back of my closet, there was an old black backpack I hadn't touched in years. But tonight, it had a purpose. I filled it, not with my own stuff, but with something else. Something I wanted them to find. I went back to the house, still loud, still full of laughter and fake joy. No one saw me come in. I slipped down the hallway, left the backpack by the stairs, and walked out for the last time. That was it. I was gone. By the time they noticed I was missing, I'd already be a memory. Or a mystery. And whatever was inside that bag, let them deal with it. Let them try to make sense of it. The quiet didn't last long. I figured there'd be yelling eventually, but I wasn't prepared for how fast it all blew up. The next morning, I was still half asleep when someone started banging on my apartment door. Not knocking, straight up pounding. Open the damn door. You think you can just do this? That was Dad. Shouting. Furious. I stayed still, watching the door vibrate under each blow. Like he wanted to tear it off the hinges. I know you're in there. You think you're better than us? His voice cracked. It wasn't just anger anymore, there was panic in it too. I didn't respond. I wasn't playing their game. Eventually, the noise stopped. I heard his heavy footsteps stomp off, a door slam, and the roar of his engine as he peeled out of the parking lot. But I knew it wasn't over. Not even close. 20 minutes later, my phone lit up. A message from Mom. One line, "How could you do this to your own family?" I didn't reply. An hour after that, Erica called. Her name popped up on my screen. I let it ring. Then another call came in. And another. 6 in total. Then came the first voicemail. You think you're clever? Think we can't survive without you? Fine. Let's see how long you last without a family. That was the text. I read it, and smiled. Was that supposed to scare me? Sounded more like a blessing. But the real chaos didn't hit until that evening. I had just stepped out of the shower, still towel drying my hair, when I heard a key turn in the lock. I froze. Nobody should have a key to this place. Not anymore. The door flung open like a scene out of a cheap drama. Dad barreled in, red in the face, forehead slick with sweat. Mom trailed close behind him, eyes wild, panic all over her. You think you can lock me out of your life? Dad roared. Get out, I said, keeping my voice low and steady, like ice. Get out. Get out. This is who you've turned into. Mom's voice cracked and climbed, high and desperate. You're abandoning your family. After everything we did for you? No, I said as I leaned casually against the kitchen counter. You used me. Don't confuse the two. Dad stepped toward me, hand balled into a fist like he thought he might scare me with it. You ungrateful little screw-up. Go ahead, I said, calm as ever. Try something. We both knew he wouldn't. His hand shook a little, but it stayed at his side. He wasn't a fighter. Never had been. Just a loudmouth who relied on volume to hide how scared he really was. Then Mom's voice broke through again, cracking with disbelief. What did you do? The cards aren't working. Erica can't pay her rent. The mortgage bounced. Everything's gone. I nodded slowly. Yeah. That's right. Everything I paid for. Everything I took care of. It's over. Dad gave a hollow laugh, sharp and bitter. Oh, look at you. Think you're in control now? Think we need you? I shrugged, not even pretending to care. Seems like you do. You broke into my apartment just to beg. Beg? He spat. You think that's what this is? You think we're begging? I think you're desperate, I said. And I think I've heard enough. My voice cut through his yelling like a knife. That's it. I'm done. Mom stepped in then, arms reaching out like that would fix everything. Please. We're your family. We're all we've got. No, I said flatly. You're all you've got. I'm done being your ATM. Your punching bag. Your backup plan. Dad's face twisted, eyes filled with hate. You little leech. I lifted one finger and pointed at the door. Leave. Now. You can't do this, Mom whispered, her eyes brimming with tears. It's cruel. I let out a laugh, not because it was funny, but because it was all so familiar. You want to talk about cruel? Cruel is telling your own son he's worthless while draining his bank account. Cruel is mocking him while he pays your bills. Dad lunged a step closer, but I didn't so much as blink. And this time, he stopped. Shoulders sagged. Rage slipping into defeat. You'll regret this, he muttered, voice low. You'll come crawling back. I won't, I replied, and I meant it. They stormed out, slamming the door like it was supposed to leave a scar. But I stood there and listened to the sound of their footsteps fading into the distance, and all I felt was peace. Still, I knew better than to think it was over. The next day, they pulled a new stunt. Erica showed up, at my job. I saw her through the glass wall of the office, pale-faced, eyes puffy, tears smeared down her cheeks. My boss spotted her first, then shot me a confused, almost sympathetic look. She started waving. I didn't move. Just stayed planted at my desk. Sir. My assistant said, peeking in. There's a woman here. Says she knows you. She's nobody, I said, not looking up. Erica didn't leave, though. She stood at the front desk, voice rising, hands trembling, making a scene. I watched as the receptionist tried to calm her down. Then security came and politely walked her out. I knew she'd try again. That night, there was another knock, this time, my landlord. Hey, bit of a situation, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. Your family's downstairs. They're causing a commotion. Then call the cops, I said. He looked taken aback. But, it's your family. Not anymore, I replied. I walked over to the window and watched them down there, waving their arms, yelling up, drawing attention from the whole block. Eventually, security had to step in again. But I knew them. They weren't going to let this go. And back in the house I'd walked away from, I knew what was waiting. That black backpack. I left it there on purpose. A message. A warning. Let them open it. Let them try to understand just how far I was willing to go to be free. But I knew them too well. The quiet wouldn't last. It never did. It was just a reset before another round. Over the next few days, I ignored every call, every message, every guilt-soaked voicemail. I even skipped work, let the world pass me by for a while, just so I could enjoy the silence. But I wasn't dumb. I knew they were gearing up for something else. Erica was the first to crack. Her texts got nasty. Angry. Full of blame. Accusations. Like this was all my fault. Mom followed with tearful voicemails, her voice breaking as she pleaded with me to come back, to be the bigger person, to save the family. Then came Dad. At first, same old routine, threats, name-calling, shouting into the void. But then, the tone shifted. Suddenly he was calm. Friendly, even. A new message popped up. Son, let's settle this like men. No drama. Just you and me. Our team's playing this weekend. Come watch the game. Come on, he'd written. Let's talk it out. Yeah, right. It reeked of a setup the second I read it. Still, I said yes. Not because I trusted him, because I wanted this. I needed this. So I showed up. But the moment I spotted the empty seats around him, and that black backpack clutched tight in his lap, I knew I'd been right all along. This wasn't about peace. This was about power. About control. About dragging me back under. But I wasn't the same idiot who stood in that living room pretending everything was fine. That guy was long gone. The stadium shook with life, screams, chants, the pounding of feet on the metal bleachers. It was loud enough to swallow secrets whole. Perfect. He was easy to spot, section 12, row F, sitting alone like he owned the place. Waved me down like we were old friends. That stupid grin on his face said it all. He was enjoying this. Surprised I called, "Ha," he yelled over the roar. Finally decided to talk like men. I slid into the seat next to him, my eyes fixed on the backpack in his lap. Is that what this is? I asked. Oh, I think it's a little more than that, he said, leaning toward me. His voice dropped low, barely rising over the noise. You thought you were clever, cutting us off, vanishing like some badass. But you left something behind. He tapped the backpack with his fingers. We found it. I tilted my head. Found what? The truth, he hissed. All of it. Your little secrets. Your lies. You think you're clean. Think you're better than us. His tone sharpened like a blade. Always acting like some hero. Like you're above us. I almost laughed. Go ahead, I said. Open it. Let's see what you think you know. His eyes narrowed. There was something flickering there, uncertainty, fear, maybe both. I don't need to open it, he snapped. I know what's in there. You've been hiding money. Stealing. Pretending to play the good guy while you kept your stash. I leaned back, feeling the cold metal press into my spine. The only thing in that bag is the truth. The crowd erupted just then. Our team had scored, but in our little section of the stadium, everything was still. Heavy. He stared at the bag like it might explode. His fingers twitched. You're bluffing, he muttered. Trying to mess with my head. But it's too late. We're telling people. Everyone. We're gonna make sure they know what kind of son you really are. I nodded toward the field. Then do it. Go on. Tell them how I paid Erica's rent for 2 years. How I bailed you out after you blew half your retirement gambling. How I bought that overpriced phone for your precious granddaughter, right before she told me I was nothing. His face darkened, mouth tightening. Shut your mouth. No, I said firmly. Let's lay it all out. You've got that backpack full of proof, every receipt, every bill I covered, every handout I gave. And you still think you have leverage? His grip on the backpack tightened, knuckles pale and shaking. Don't talk to me like that, he growled. Like what? I leaned in, keeping my voice cool but sharp. Like the piece of furniture you always treated me as. Like the family wallet. Like the guy who was supposed to fix everything without asking questions. Shut up, he bellowed, jumping to his feet. A few people behind us turned to look. Sit down, I said, voice like frost. And he did. For a second, I saw it, fear in his eyes. Not of me exactly, but of losing control. Of finally seeing that I didn't care anymore. He let out this dry, cracked laugh. What, you gonna hit me? Go on, swing at your old man. Let's see how that plays out. You really think anyone here would take your side? I motioned to the crowd, a sea of strangers, every one of them too wrapped up in the game to care. You're just an angry old man holding a bag full of unpaid debts. They don't know me. And they don't have to. His expression twisted, his voice dropping into a snarl. You arrogant little egotist. I smiled. Not out of spite, out of clarity. I was your lifeline. And now? You're drowning. That's when he snapped. His arm swung forward, his big, clumsy hand aiming for my face. I saw it coming. Saw it before it even happened. But I didn't move. Didn't flinch. He wanted a reaction. He wanted to push me into becoming the villain in his version of the story. Instead, I just stared back. Calm. Silent. His fist stopped, just inches from my face. Trembling. I should have left you in the street, he whispered, voice shaking with rage and something weaker. You've always been a parasite. Funny, I said, softly. I leaned in real close, close enough to catch the stale beer clinging to his breath. That's funny, I whispered. Because that's exactly how I've always felt about you. Something inside him cracked at those words. His grip loosened. His posture collapsed. The noise from the stadium exploded around us, cheers, drums, chants, but for him, it might as well have been silence. Whatever pride he had left dissolved right there in that seat. Without hesitation, I reached over and snatched the backpack from his lap. He didn't even try to stop me. You want to know what's in this? I asked, loud enough to carry to the nearby rows. Everything I ever did for you. Every dollar. Every sacrifice. Heads turned. Whispers spread. A few people lifted their phones, cameras already rolling. You want the truth? I said, and unzipped the bag. From inside, I pulled out a thick stack of documents, papers, receipts, bank records, copies of bills I paid. My proof. Here it is, I said, holding them high. This is how I carried your whole damn family. This is how I saved your house, not once, twice, from foreclosure. How I cleaned up your messes while you spit on me. His face went ghost white. And you have the nerve to talk about betrayal? I stood tall, holding the stack in one hand like it weighed nothing. You betrayed me the moment you turned me into your personal bank. When you laughed while your granddaughter told me I didn't matter. Stop, he croaked, his voice barely audible, slumping into his seat like all the air had been knocked out of him. No, I said, clear and strong. This is the show you wanted, right? You wanted a scene. Well, here it is. I dropped the stack of papers right at his feet. They scattered, fluttering down the stadium steps like dead leaves caught in the wind. Then I turned and walked up the steps. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. Behind me, he shouted, voice raw and cracked, you can't just walk away. But I did. For the first time in my life, his voice meant absolutely nothing. Of course, they didn't give up. Not right away. The day after the stadium, after I watched my father's ego bleed out onto those cold, silver bleachers, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Call after call. Texts pouring in. Accusations. Pleas. Threats. One after another. It was a greatest hits album of desperation, and I hit skip every time. Dad cracked first. It took him less than a day to go from rage to begging. His voicemails were pathetic. We can talk about this, he said. We'll let it go. Just come back. We're family. I never responded. Then Mom took her shot. Her messages came dripping with guilt and crocodile tears. You're tearing this family apart, she wrote. We didn't mean to hurt you. We're all we have. I stopped reading them halfway through. Erica's texts came next, and they were pure poison. You're a coward. A selfish, pathetic coward. You've ruined everything. Then, the switch. Please. Just talk to me. I didn't mean what I said. I was scared. Please. But I was done. My answer was silence. My revenge was absence. And for a while, they still didn't get it. Thought it was all just a stunt. That I'd come back eventually, tail between my legs. But the days kept rolling by. Then the weeks. The bills they used to shrug off started to pile up. Their friends stopped offering sympathy. And slowly, it sank in. They had no way back to me. Even the landlord at their rental house called me, all flustered and stammering about missed rent. I just assumed you were still covering it, he said. Not my problem anymore, I replied, and hung up. Later, Mom sent me a picture. It was the whole family huddled around a table in the dark, one tiny candle flickering in the center. We have nothing left, the message read. I deleted it without a second thought. One night, I was walking home from the store, a bag of groceries in hand, when I saw him, Dad. He was pacing out front of my building, looking like a man who hadn't slept in days. Pale, twitchy, haunted. Then he spotted me. And just like that, a spark lit up in his eyes. Twisted hope. He rushed toward me. Listen, he said, his voice shaky. You can't do this. You're my son. I didn't even slow down. No, I said. I was your wallet. He stepped into my path, voice cracking with old emotion. We raised you. We gave you everything. You used me, I said, staring straight into his eyes. And now, you've got nothing. I tried to walk around him, but his hand shot out, gripping my arm. You don't get to just walk away, he growled. You think you're better than us? You think you're something now? I know I am, I said, yanking my arm free. And I kept walking. He took a swing at me, clumsy, slow, desperate. His fist barely glanced my shoulder. It wasn't a punch. It was a plea in disguise. He stumbled, caught himself on the wall, gasping for air like he'd just run a mile. Pathetic, I muttered, more to myself than to him. His face twisted up like it used to when I was a kid, rage behind watery eyes. You'll come crawling back, he spat. You always do. You're nothing without us. I let out a sharp laugh, loud, clear, echoing off the buildings like a gunshot. No, I said. I was nothing with you. And I turned my back. I walked away. And I never looked over my shoulder. That night, I slid my phone into the bottom drawer of my desk and left it there, untouched. The notifications rolled in, texts, missed calls, voicemail after voicemail, but none of it could reach me anymore. A week later, a letter showed up in my mailbox. The handwriting was shaky, uneven. I recognized it right away, Mom. Please, it began. Your dad's not doing well. Erica's on the verge of a breakdown. We're falling apart. You're the only one who can pull us back together. Come home. I didn't bother reading the rest. I crushed the letter in my fist and tossed it aside. They were unraveling. Good. For once, I wasn't the one breaking. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't change my phone number. I didn't go into hiding. I stayed put, same apartment, same routine, but I cut all ties to their world. And without me, that world slowly came undone. Erica's calls started going unanswered. Her little social circle. Gone quiet. Mom's extended family, the ones who used to send stiff Christmas cards out of politeness, went silent. And Dad. He snapped at the wrong person at work one too many times. Lost his job over it. But I didn't lose sleep over it. I didn't even blink. Instead, I lived my life. I cooked meals for myself, slept through the night without dread, took long walks where no one could interrupt me with cries for help, or guilt trips for money or favors. To me, they were just echoes now, ghosts from a fire I had finally walked away from. And in their place, I found peace. The quiet didn't scare me anymore. It felt like a friend I'd finally gotten to know. I woke up when I wanted, ate without shame, and spent my weekends getting to know the city I'd always been too busy to enjoy. Now and then, I'd pause, almost expecting the buzz of a desperate message, that old weight of panic and responsibility. But it never came. I had done what I never thought I could. I didn't bury them in a graveyard, I buried them in my past. Gone, but not forgotten. Just no longer mine to carry. One crisp fall morning, I found myself walking down Elm Street. I passed the cafe where I used to buy overpriced birthday cakes for Erica. The little boutique where I'd dropped too much money on gifts. And that restaurant, the one where I picked up the tab for every family dinner. Back then, I gave and gave, until I didn't. Now, it was all just memory. Empty places haunted by versions of me I no longer recognized. At the corner, a street musician played a slow, raw tune. His voice was rough, like gravel soaked in honesty, and his fingers danced across the strings like he didn't care who was watching. I stopped. Let the sound settle into my chest. It wasn't a song about love, or heartbreak. It was about release. People hurried around me, the city alive and humming. But I stood still. When the song ended, I pulled out a 20 and dropped it into his open guitar case. He nodded. I nodded back. And for once, it wasn't out of guilt. It wasn't because someone needed me to be generous. It was because I simply wanted to. And that, right there, that was the shift. I didn't depend on them. I never truly had. I kept walking. Each step felt a little lighter, like the weight I'd carried so long had finally dissolved. As the sun slipped behind the rooftops, turning the sky shades of gold and deep red, I felt it. That quiet, solid truth. I was free.